Welcome everyone to our AI Basics Cyber Threats session. My name is Luis, and I'm one of designDATA's technical trainers here. We continue our series introducing you to artificial intelligence. We have several videos in our AI series exclusive to designDATA partners. To revisit what you learned today or to explore other topics around AI, please be sure to visit our on-demand video library. Now, this topic is vast, and I'm going to cover this at a bird's eye view. I'll include many reference links for you and for your reference in the description of today's video, so be on the lookout for those as I mention them. Now, AI is just improving at lightning speed. Allow me to share with you the latest announcement from ChatGPT's OpenAI. I think you're going to be stunned if you haven't seen this video yet. This is artificial intelligence today.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Rocky. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm awesome. Listen, I got some huge news.
Oh, do tell. I'm all ears.
Well, in a few minutes, I'm going to be interviewing at OpenAI. Have you heard of them?
OpenAI? Huh? Sounds vaguely familiar. Kidding, of course. That's incredible, Rocky. What kind of interview?
Well, it's for a software engineering role, but I just need to know, do I look presentable, professional?
Well, Rocky, you definitely have the I've been coding all night look down, which could actually work in your favor. Maybe just run a hand through your hair or lean into the mad genius vibe. Your enthusiasm is what's really going to shine through.
I don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to throw this on. What do you think?
Oh, Rocky, that's quite a statement piece. I mean, you'll definitely stand out, though maybe not in the way you're hoping for an interview.
Okay, I got it.
You could imagine how this technology is going to be used for good and how this technology can be used for harm. The learning goal in today's session is to shed light on current AI cyber dangers. And so to accomplish this, we're going to determine whether AI will take over the world, discover how bad actors are leveraging AI today, and to sort of see what the future is going to be looking like, and how you can defend yourself against these modern threats. So just a question to be thinking about: what sort of doomsday AI or robot movie have you seen? I'm sure many of us might be thinking about Terminator, Skynet, iRobot, and so forth. You know, we've all seen the movies, we've read the books, and we've bought the t-shirts. And here's people's concern around AI. People are concerned that AI will become sentient or self-aware and prioritize survival over our own. They believe that AI may be able to operate with this limitless energy and have this relentless drive to destroy all of humanity. And the concern also is that AI lacks any sense of morality, that they would operate without any form of compassion or emotion or any means to regulate what is good. Now, while that might make for exciting movies about artificial general intelligence, which in short are machines that have human-like understanding, depending on who you listen to, that's something that is decades, centuries away, or it's downright impossible to achieve. Because you see, the way we define the brain as an organ and wrap our minds around it, it's really difficult to do that. We can't even articulate what exactly is a mind or consciousness to try to replicate it. You can learn a little bit more about artificial general intelligence by reading this McKinsey article that I'm going to share in the description of this video. So here's the reality with AI. We're looking at narrow AI, which are excellent at solving narrow problems. This version of AI only seems intelligent. You are currently using a form of this anytime you use autocomplete while typing in a Google search bar and so forth, or if you're typing up like a text message to someone. And the word artificial in this combination of words, in artificial intelligence, it is deliberate. It signifies that the intelligence that you are seeing here is all simulated. And you can look at some of these areas further by looking at this CNBC article from venture capitalist Mark Andreessen, who notes, quote, AI doesn't want, it doesn't have goals, it doesn't want to kill you because it's not alive. AI is a machine. It's not going to come alive any more than your toaster will. And I'll share that link in the description of today's video. Also, the reality is that AI has limitations. It consumes significant energy resources, so much so that even Salesforce is calling for emission regulations within the tech sector. And just recently, though Microsoft aims to be carbon-free by 2030, their desire to lead the AI frontier has put them in a position to develop and build more data centers to support data storage, AI processing, and others. What about ethics? Is there some sort of moral compass they may be able to operate from? Well, this is where things can get quite dicey. This screenshot here is from a Harvard News article, and it talked about artificial intelligence, or AI, rabbis and priests, and conversations among religious scholars, and so on. It was honestly pretty strange, but I'm seeing how people are trying to leverage this for good. There's an interview here with Oxford professor of mathematics, John Lennox, who talks about the intersection between AI, faith, and ethics. It's pretty profound, and he also shares privacy-related concerns with unregulated AI. Now, we'll briefly survey this dicey area and how bad actors are leveraging technology. But as we learned earlier, AI is not self-aware. It's amoral, it's neutral. It's neither good nor bad on its own. But generative AI, like Google search results, are guided by human engagement. It's possible AI responds with inaccurate, biased, or harmful views or responses. Please see our generative AI basics session in our video library to learn more about the building blocks of these tools. So it is vital for a human to be in the loop, to validate and to help train the responses to ensure that AI is a force for good. Now, let's explore how AI is being leveraged by bad actors. You can see currently that the FBI just recently released this article here from their San Francisco area. They said that FBI warns of increasing threat of cyber criminals using AI. And there was another article by Axios here. And they were jotting down a recent conference where CISA's primary official, Jen Esterly, was saying that AI makes it easier for anyone to become a cyber criminal. So it is pretty startling how bad actors are beginning to use AI for harm. We're going to be taking a look at some of those ways that bad actors are using AI. The first one we're going to look at is bad actors are leveraging AI to create voice deepfakes. These are persisting rapidly. They tend to dupe more victims than images and video at this time. And although I could share several stories, this is a recent case. LastPass was a recent target by cybercriminals. And in this reading, the victim received multiple phone calls, text messages, and voice messages impersonating the LastPass CEO. Now, the good news here, fortunately, the employee picked up on those social engineering cues. You know, they were familiar with security awareness and so forth, and they were able to report the incident and stop it from making any progress. So this was an active case against LastPass. Now, this one is a Maryland story where a principal was framed with racist remarks using voice cloning technology. The good news in this case, the police were able to learn that this was a deepfake that was used. Now that's voice deepfakes. Bad actors are also known to be using video deepfakes as well. Let's see how advanced this technology has become. Let's go ahead and play this clip.
Read AI, introduce yourself to everyone.
Hello, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here today. I'm an AI-generated version of Reid Hoffman, his digital twin. My thinking and everything I am saying comes from a custom GPT that is based on 20 years of Reid talking and making content. So I've read all his books, watched his speeches, and listened to his podcasts. I think it gives me a pretty good sense of how you approach the world, Reid.
So first, I'm going to challenge Read AI with some questions to see what it can do and how good its content is in mirroring what I might say.
Then the tables will turn, and I will challenge you with some questions about AI and tech.
Of course.
Wow. If this is available to the public, as you might imagine, bad actors would use this to try to create a video deepfake over a Zoom call, for example. And while I don't have a screenshot for today's presentation, similar technology was used to create a Zoom call with several impersonated staff to scam a Hong Kong-based employee into authorizing a $25 million transaction. The effects, as you might imagine, are devastating. Now, while these might be interesting technology here, they can also be used to create misinformation. Now, hallucinations are responses that AI gives without any factual basis. And you'll find disclaimers on every AI tool warning you about the possibility of inaccurate responses. So it's something to consider. So in addition to hallucinations, which could mislead people, there's something else called jailbreaking or adversarial prompting, where you try to force AI to bypass its native ethical guardrails. This is a quote from Microsoft article here. Quote, "The consequences can range from the unapproved but less harmful, like getting AI interface to talk like a pirate, to the very serious, such as inducing AI to provide detailed instructions on how to achieve illegal activities," end quote. So AI can be used to spread hallucinations, like creating misinformation and so forth. So people start to believe this, not knowing that this was just a misleading or completely fabricated situation or story that was shared. Also, there's adversarial prompting, where bad actors are trying to jailbreak or use adversarial prompting to try to break through some of these guardrails. But also, AI can be used to spread disinformation, which is the intentional act of deceiving people. The accelerated growth of disinformation could sow confusion on an unprecedented scale. For example, attempting to jeopardize the democratic process for the upcoming elections. Now you can see with these two article clippings, Microsoft reported how both China and Russia are trying to sway public opinion. I'll send those links in the description, where Microsoft is trying to support not just the United States, but also global elections in general using content integrity tools. Now, this deceptive tactic can also be used by bad actors to create hyper-realistic, well-written, and targeted phishing emails or text messages to their recipients. So be considerate of those text messages and emails and apply those email security best practices. So in addition to deep fakes, the possibility of spreading mis and disinformation, bad actors are leveraging AI to also promote monolithic thinking, or training AI to think in one way. Now, this could also fall under mis or disinformation, like faulty updates to a system and so on. But these effects are especially harmful. As we learned in our generative AI basics session, AI tools are built on data sets and how developers train the data. And there are massive amounts of data sets pulled from internet articles, forums, and other pages that are harmful, offensive, and biased. You see, the tools can't discern what exactly is or is not ethical, or what is or is not true. Unfortunately, there are a lot of anti-Semitic content online, and it could promote more of that way of thinking if these AI tools have been trained with a lot of content that promote anti-Semitism. And in response to try to limit harmful, offensive, and biased responses, Google came under fire by trying to override and train the data to promote more diversity in its responses. But it had unintended consequences. Most notably were the inaccurate historical images of the United States founding fathers, of Vikings, and others. And this led people to believe Google went too far deliberately, that they had malicious intentions or something else. You see, it's incredibly difficult to get the data sets and training settled perfectly. I'll share a 2023 example of voice and facial recognition bias that was caused by the source training data that was available to Meta. So be sure to take a look at the description of today's video. Now, David Rosado, pictured here, he is a research scientist who asked generative AI tools political topology questions so that he could uncover whether the model holds any political leanings. Now, there's too much content to sift through, but here's what he found regarding the political preferences of large language models like ChatGPT, Google Bard at the time, now called Gemini, Twitter's Grok, and others. So this is the date, February 2024. Let me go ahead and just scroll down to the very bottom for the sake of time. When probed with question statements with political connotations, most conversational large language models tend to generate responses that are diagnosed by most political test instruments as manifesting preferences for left of center viewpoints. This does not appear to be the case for base or foundation models upon which LLMs optimized for conversation with humans are built. Though not conclusive, our results provide supporting evidence for the intriguing hypothesis that the embedding of political preferences into LLMs might be happening mostly post pre-training, namely during the supervised fine-tuning or the reinforcement learning stages of the conversational LLM's training pipeline. We provide further support for this hypothesis by showing that LLMs are easily steerable into target locations of the political spectrum via SFT, requiring only modest compute and custom data, illustrating the ability of SFT to imprint political preferences onto LLMs. As LLMs have started to displace more traditional information sources, such as search engines like Google or Wikipedia, the implications of political biases embedded in LLMs has important societal ramifications. Very, very interesting. So as many commentators have suggested, if you plan to develop your own large language model, be sure to think ethics before the design. Now, with all of these threats, how do we go about protecting ourselves? Well, I'm glad that you asked. Technology is fast improving. And very soon, we will not be able to distinguish between real and fake audio, image, or video. So these two steps are what you need to protect yourself. Validate by multi-factor communication. What does that look like? If someone is calling you, have them also send you an email or a text message to confirm their identity. In other words, you need an alternate means to validate their identity. Allow me to show you another example of how much this technology has improved. This is a Microsoft technology. So lifelike audio-driven talking faces generated in real time. Let me go ahead and scroll down here just to see some of the samples of this so you could watch this in real time.
Will prevent those cavities from getting worse and prevent new cavities. Just because you treat cavities, it doesn't mean they can't get cavities in any other tooth or around those other cavities. Why did the cavities happen in the first place?
As you can see, this technology is going to be very difficult. So having the ability to validate by multi-factor communication is going to be one step. Also, be sure to validate by third-party confirmation. If person A is requesting approval, you need person B, a separate identity, to authorize the request. And that way you have that built-in protection throughout your organization. Now, remember that psychological techniques are used by aspiring journalists to try to prompt you to click on their news article, their YouTube links, and so forth in order to drive traffic to their websites. But bad actors are using the same to prompt for action. So they're going to want to try to lure you to click on a link that they've framed to evoke a reaction. Let's go ahead and take a look at this Harvard study here. Let me pull this up so you can see. Here's this Harvard article here. And what they learned is that negative language in news headlines increase the likelihood that readers clicked on that headline, even after adjusting for the content of the corresponding story. Sadness, not anger, seem to be the main emotion driving clicks. Those findings align with what we know about human cognition, that negative stimuli tend to draw our attention, and people tend to weigh the negative more heavily than the positive when making decisions. So you could see how this sort of psychology technique can be used by bad actors to try to lure people. So it is important to exercise healthy skepticism upon reading whatever you are getting access to. Fact check using brands with a consistent track record of trust, like recognized industry experts, professional organizations, and academic institutions. Remember, the truth will set you free from those emotional manipulation techniques that bad actors are trying to use. And also, this is going to help to promote clarity and just in general, peace of mind as we're navigating this new landscape. Be sure to slow down and verify. This applies for email, text, voice, image, and videos too. You see, AI amplifies someone's work, whether for good or for harm. So slow down and verify. This applies for emails that you're reviewing, text messages you receive, phone calls, images that you receive, video calls, and so forth. Be sure to slow down and verify these requests. Now, even before AI, viral activity on social media flooded our different feeds. And so it's important to stay informed and read a spectrum of opinions and be able to formulate your own ideas. Remember, the narratives that we read online might not always represent the full spectrum of discourse. So discern whether you might be in the echo chamber. Be respectful how others arrive to their conclusions. This chart here, another one by Harvard, just showcases some of the political bias of various news outlets. So let me go ahead and pull this up here. And so you could see most extreme across the top here and middle and so forth. And you could see whether it contains thorough fact reporting versus inaccurate or fabricated info. And this Harvard study just plotted all these different news outlets and so forth. But just a pretty interesting chart that they were able to put together, January 2024. And interestingly enough, even Harvard asked the question, is their media bias chart biased itself? So the whole idea is just to, as the golden rule goes, treat others how you want to be treated. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Okay, generative AI risks and mitigations. So as you know, generative AI tools like ChatGPT, Copilot, and so on have flooded news headlines. And though we address this more deeply in our ChatGPT Basics and Copilot Basics session, I'd like to quickly share risk and mitigation considerations in the workplace. Now, be mindful of input risks here. That is, the types of information entered into these tools. Some of the paid versions do not train on prompts and responses as you're interacting with this tool. But unless you learn otherwise, lean on the side of caution. So in other words, avoid entering proprietary organizational data, personally identifiable information, protected health information, anything with privacy and legal liabilities. Otherwise, you may inadvertently be feeding sensitive data that you can't take back. So in other words, if you wouldn't want to see it in the news, avoid sharing it. Here's how you can mitigate some of those risks. If you're a leader within your organization, establish AI and data governance policies, seek ways to anonymize the data while using it, and use AI responsibly. So back to our original question here. Will narrow AI reshape our world? In short, yes. AI will permeate society similar to the printing press, then ebooks, and so on, or how Google replaced the tedious task of reading through an encyclopedia. It's becoming a normal part of life. AI is a workforce amplifier, reducing cognitive load by automating laborious but repeatable tasks. I've heard it said in my research that AI will not replace people, but people leveraging AI will replace people without it. So by joining our series, you're equipped to better learn how to harness these tools to accomplish your best work. Greg Starling, our head of emerging technology, said, quote, AI is the worst today that it'll ever be. It'll only improve from here, end quote. Now, with all of the frightening possibilities of AI, can I share with you some positive use cases? Here we have an AI smartwatch that will be able to detect seizures. Here, AI will better personalize healthcare to the individual. Here, AI is improving personal productivity. Here, the pursuit to translate songs that whales sing in the ocean. AI technology to defend against other AI-related threats. And there's so much more good that AI is promoting within our world. So the goal here is not to become an AI specialist, but to discover innovative ways to integrate AI into your workflow, embrace the learning, adopt the technology, and practice its applications. I've also used AI to even look at my presentation to polish my language, reword complex sentences, and create some of the PowerPoint images that you saw in today's presentation. Now that you're aware of the challenges of the current landscape, I invite you to be part of the solution. Darkness prevails only in the absence of light. So let's advocate for what is good and collaborate and create a bright future together. Thanks so much for joining us in our AI Basics Cyber Threat session from designDATA. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.